Okay, welcome, Professor Hu. Could you please tell us something more about your studies?
Yeah, sure. I'm very happy to be here and meet all the friends here at Zolix. And first, maybe I can introduce myself a little bit. My name is Lili Hu, and now I'm currently working at University of Tianjin. At Tianjin, it's very close to here. It's just maybe 2 or 3 hours by driving. Maybe not in European distance, but in China it's quite close. And I'm now working in the Department of School of Process Instrument and Optical Electronic Engineering. So my major is about optical engineering. That's why I came here, because we have a close relationship with what Zolix has been developed here.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah. As we know, you focused on novel light modulating electronic devices. Yeah. What are the advantages and difficulties compared to the standard, to the traditional?
Yeah, thank you for these questions. And this will give me opportunity to explain more about what I have done, my research is about. And as you mentioned, that is one major is novel light modeling devices. And these devices, maybe I can explain a little bit more if the time is allowed. And what I have done in my lab is we want to do some optical switchable devices.
Oh, okay.
We all know this switch in the electronics, it has on and off state, right? And what we use to control this on and switch is we use magnetic, for example, the button on the wall, the light switching on and off. And in electronic work, we also use electro intensity to control these things. But here, what I want to do, I want to use light to control.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. You know what's the advantage of light?
It's extremely interesting. Yeah. How about the prospect?
Yeah, and because the light is, you can do this remote. For example, use a laser to remote control, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and also because light is able to go to very high resolution, both in temporary and spatial, and we like light. And the light is easier to control the intensity and the wavelength, so it can do much more interesting things. That is one of my major research I want to do. And I want to do photo-switchable transistors and photo-switchable lighting devices. As previous, for my talk, I introduced these new devices. We call it OLED, which is light emitting transistors. It's compact light, LED, and transistor in a single device, but it can do much more fancy things.
Oh, extremely interesting. Okay, I know that you used Zolix instruments in your lab. How about your experience with them?
That's I'd like to answer that question because I try to go back to my history with Zolix. I found that this indeed is a long story. Actually, I did my PhD study at University of Groningen in Netherlands, in Europe. And there, at that time, it's maybe, I try to count the times, maybe 13 years ago. Start with 2010. And at that time in the lab, I work in a chemistry lab. All the people, they are doing chemistry, do the synthesis, and trying to measure NMR. But they also interesting to see the performance of this molecule synthesis, and they need the spectroscopy skills. This is why I joined the lab. And at the lab, I started to build up a series of spectroscopy systems, including steady state emission, transient emission, transient absorption, etc. And at that time, what I found is very interesting. I found the instrument from Zolix in the lab, but the students and professors, they are not very sure about how to use this instrument because they are chemists. But I have the background of optical engineering. Then I know how to use this. And I assemble all this spectroscopy system and also the software. And in the end, which also surprised for me and for my colleague. This instrument from Zolix, it works very well. It can fully satisfy our requirement. And that's the reason why now I'm back to China to continue my research. I still trying to keep contact with Zolix and use their instrument. And I want to do more things. As I mentioned, now I'm trying to do some optical switchable devices. I'd like to see the both growth of myself and also the Zolix can do much more interesting instrument and to help us for my future research.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for this conversation.
So you would suggest Zolix?
What I can suggest, Zolix, maybe not suggestions, but maybe some words for the Zolix. I hope we can, just as I said, we can continue with the collaborations. Of course, I also, because we need the instrument, I also expecting they can give us more discount for friends price maybe. And also, I hope my student and also the student at our university have a strong background in optical engineering and also instrument development. I hope they can also find their own opportunities in these great companies. Yeah.
Okay, thanks again for your time.
Thank you.